Hello, Put Me in Coaching family. I hope everyone's having a fantastic weekend. I know we had some celebrations. Laura did a 5K this morning. So if you're watching live, go ahead, just drop a hashtag live in the comments. If you're watching the replay, just drop a hashtag replay, give it a like, whatever you can do. Let us know that you watched it, you saw it, and you were here and got the information. So it's the start of the NFL season, and we all know I'm a huge sports fan, right? My baseball team didn't do so well this year, but that's okay. And then now my football team didn't do well today either, but that's okay, right? There is always another day. But in the essence of opening week of football, I want to talk about different leadership principles. I was at a conference yesterday and took so many pages of notes, and I thought it was a really cool concept to translate into talking about leading ourselves. And as we come back into closing out the third quarter, right? It's at the end of this month will be the end of Q3 for 2025. There's still time to either continue to make progress that you want to make if you're on the right path, or time to reset, restart, and refocus, right? So that you can really, truly end 2025 where you want to be. So I want us to take this month to kind of gear up to have a phenomenal fourth quarter of 2025. And so that's why I wanted to make tonight a little bit football themed. So you can also drop your favorite football team in the comments if you have one. If you don't, that's okay. But when I talk about leadership, right, we have to be able to lead ourselves first. And we've talked a lot about raising our lid. We've talked a lot about personal development the last couple of classes. But when we talk about leading ourselves, that's where we have to get very intentional about not making excuses and not accepting less than what we would accept from teammates, right? So we have to pretend. And right now, the US Open's going on for tennis, and a lot of the tennis players, it's singles, right? And so the men's finals were today for that. And so it's really important that when you think in terms of leading yourself, you understand these principles. And I'm not going to go over all of them. I picked out a few key ones that I learned that I really thought applied to the Put Me in Coaching Health Accelerator way, which, by the way, is what we think and what we do, right? That's the three pillars. Then you've got your 7-step signature system, and then you've got your formula, right? And if we just simply apply the formula, we trust the process, things become easier. They start to work. Okay. There's no magic formula. You may have to tweak some things because something that worked for you before may not quite be working, but that's why we track, right? That's step 4 of the 7-step signature system is tracking. And the reason we track is because we have to know what's working and what's not working. All right. So when we think about fear, right? A lot of us have a fear of the unknown, right? And so one of the things they mentioned yesterday, he said, fear doesn't stop death, it stops life. And it really prevents you from having the life you deserve. So think about, where is it that you want to be and what's preventing you from getting there? Is it the fear of failure? Is it the fear of success? You don't know what it's going to be like. Is it just the fear of the unknown? Is it the fear of, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to face other things in my life that I haven't had to deal with because I use my struggle with weight gain or whatever as a crutch? And that's probably a big one, right? Because if you get that excuse out of the way, now what's your excuse for not doing the things you want to do? Right? So think about, what are the 3 most important things in your life? Right? That's our core value. And when we attach our why to our core value, that's when we start to really see success. And I want you to really think about it, right? Because there's a there's a widely accepted concept of, in order to get something, you have to give up something. But by giving up something, that doesn't necessarily always mean it's a bad thing to give up something, right? Maybe it's sugar that you need to give up. Maybe it's fried foods that you need to give up. Maybe it's the excuses that you need to give up. And I'm guilty of this, right? These are all things that I've done, right? The justification, well, I don't really know, right? You either got to do it or don't, right? But what are you afraid of? What's stopping you from getting to that next level? Is it that in your head, okay, once I get to the next level, then all my hopes and dreams are going to come true. And then it's that fear of, well, what if they don't? Right? I'm just kind of throwing out things that I've heard, right? And experienced. All right. So the next thing I want to talk about is the concept of those who don't move don't notice their chains. I thought that was a very powerful principle that he talked about. Those who don't move don't notice their chains, right? If we're not doing anything different, we don't notice what's holding us back. So today I worked out with my trainer. I'm getting prepared for Worlds in Hawaii. That's November 2nd. I think I compete on November 4th, but so November 4th is the day I compete. Well, I've got about 2 months to get ready. And we switched up my form because in the long run, it's going to help me, right? We switched up my form on my deadlifts. So it's going to help me a ton in the long run. But it is uncomfortable. It was painful today because we changed my stance and those muscles are not used to doing what they were doing today. So it hurt, right? And it was to the point where weight that I can usually move very easily wasn't quite moving. But I know I've got to break down to build back up. And I've got to do it pretty quickly because I've only got about 8 weeks to get there, right? But those who don't move won't notice their chains. And had I not switched that up, I might not notice the limitation. Excuse me. But what's holding me back there is the mobility and the range of motion, right? That is my current chain with that specific workout and that specific lift. And I know that if I'm ever going to get to the next level and improve, I have to break it down, get the stance right so that I can get the rest of the technique right. And it's a very difficult thing to do, is to go backwards a little bit. But I know it's going to be better in the long run. So those who don't move won't notice their chain. So what is your chain, right? What is holding you back? Where is it that you need to push your comfort zone a little bit so that you can maybe make a little bit of progress, right? The next one, the success you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding. That's a simple one, very straightforward. What is it that you're not doing that you know you should be doing? Are you not eating on plan? That's an easy one to fix. Simple one, not necessarily always easy, but that's a simple fix. Eat on plan. Okay. Is it that you're not working out? Are you not doing the mindset work? You can't fail if you're consistent. But the problem is we're really good for a day or two. And then we stop. And if you've ever, and I saw this demonstration live, and I don't have popcorn here to show you. Otherwise, I would take us on a field trip, right? But think about it. If you put a bag of popcorn in the microwave, it takes 2 to 3 minutes to pop the bag of popcorn. But let's say you put it in for 5 seconds and then you stop it. And then you do 5 more seconds and then you stop it. And then maybe you do 10 seconds and you stop it. And then you do 5 more seconds and you stop it. You're never going to get popcorn, even if you stand there for 2 minutes doing that. You're never going to get popcorn because you kill the momentum when you stop it. And that's what a lot of us fall into. That's the trap we fall into. We're not doing the things we need to do consistently enough to get the momentum going. And any change we want to see, it's only going to come with momentum. Right? If I don't continue to go and practice with the wider deadlift stance, I'm going to go back to where I was, right? I'm never going to get to that specific point that I need to be at. So I have to be consistent with it. Okay. And this is something that my coach and I talked about 6 months ago. And I was like, I'm not ready to do that yet. Right. Well, shoot, if I'd have started 6 months ago, I'd be where I want to be right now. But that's the reality I have to live with, right? I didn't start 6 months ago. So I got to start now. I've got to break it down and build it back up. And so I've got to create that momentum so I can create the change. Just like that bag of popcorn we want, and we're not eating popcorn. That's not on plan, right? But you got to think of it in terms like that. Okay. You can't have a new reality with an old mindset. 2 things there. You've got to discipline your disappointments. And we talked a lot about that. I still have that written on my mirror in my bedroom. Right? Discipline your disappointments. That's number 1. But then number 2, forgetting should be your superpower. And I thought that was a very powerful concept. You have to, again, this is giving attention. Behavior that receives attention is behavior that's repeated. So you have to forget about the stuff that moved you away from it. We're not paying attention to that. We're acknowledging it and we're moving on. Right? We're acknowledging, hey, I need to do better. And then we're moving on. All right. The next one. Let's say you're managing somebody or you have a team of some sort, right? So let's say in my case, I'm the quarterback of the team. If my team could only see my actions, but not hear my words, what would they say your priorities are? So if your team, you're the coach of your team, if they could only see your actions, but not hear your words, what would they say your priorities are? Right? If people could only see my actions, they would say my priorities are work, working out, and family. Because that's pretty much all I do. Right? So think about that, okay? If people couldn't hear what you say, right? So we're not hearing what you want to do, we're looking at what you're doing, right? What would they say your priorities are? Are you prioritizing reaching your goals? Are you prioritizing doing whatever it is you said you were going to do? Or are you not? Okay. The next one, there's 3 more. Okay. You can do anything, but you can't do everything. And this was one that hit home. I can't do everything that people need me to do. I have to prioritize. So if I have to say no to going out with friends for a little while, and I look back on my original simple fat burn journey, there were a lot of times I said, you know what? No, thank you. I can't. Right? You can do anything, but you can't do everything. And so sometimes I did have to say no. Unfortunately, I have a workout scheduled. Right? So think about that. You can do anything, but you can't do everything. Ambition without action turns into anxiety. And I think this is where a lot of us get into trouble, right? We say, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. That goes back to I can do anything, but I can't do everything. But we get so ambitious about the goals we want to accomplish. I'm going to lose 100 pounds. Well, guess what? No, you're going to lose 1 pound 100 times. Rinse and repeat. Because when we start to think, oh my gosh, I have so far to go, then we freeze. We're no longer taking action. And then we get anxious because we know we should be doing something and we're not. And we say, gosh, I've got to do better. And then we just get into this constant cycle, right? So, what's one thing that you can change? And then we habit stack. You change that one thing because if by changing that one thing, you are going to be better than you were yesterday. So we change that one thing, we make that one thing a habit. Okay, I'm going to focus on eating right this week. I'm focusing on nothing else. Eating right. Cool. Staying on plan, staying on plan, staying on plan. Boom. Now we're going to stack a habit on top of that. We're going to add to it. Okay. The last one, never take criticism from someone you wouldn't take advice from. And I've heard this come up because I will have clients tell me, well, my mom or my friends are criticizing what I'm doing, saying it's not going to work. Well, would you take health advice from them? Are you taking nutrition advice from them? If you wouldn't take the advice from them, don't take their criticism. And that's a hard one to overcome, right? Because we do love and respect a lot of people, but if you wouldn't take advice from them on that specific topic, don't accept criticism from them on that specific topic. That's a huge one. And if you can shift your mindset to that, it's like, hey, water off a duck's back, right? Hey, no, sorry, I'm not doing it. Because if you take their advice, one of my mentors says this all the time. If you take someone's advice, you have to be willing to buy their lifestyle. And that's a fact. Are they where you want to be? No? Okay, don't take advice from them. Are they going where you want to be? Have they gotten to where you want to be? Have they had success at what you're wanting to have success at? If they haven't, don't take their advice. All right. So those are the different principles I want you to really think about. Go back and rewatch this if you need to. Really dive in and figure out what's the one thing you need to take action on this week that's really going to start to move you forward. What can you become an expert at this week that's going to help move you towards your goals? And then this week, work on one thing. Next week, work on the next time, right? And continue to add to get to where you want to be. So we're stacking it. We're creating momentum. Remember, because we can't get anywhere without momentum, right? The success you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding. So you've got to continue that momentum. You've got to do it and create that momentum. All right. And that is where in Q4, fourth quarter, you are going to take off and be so successful you won't know what to do with yourself because you've created this momentum. So we're creating momentum in September. And that way, fourth quarter comes and you are smooth sailing and on your way. And then by the time New Year's runs around, you're 3 months ahead of where you want to be starting New Year's. All right. So I'm so proud of each and every one of you for showing up, getting the information, and committing to making it an incredible fourth quarter by creating momentum this September. All right. So I will see you all back here next Sunday, 7 p.m. And until then, I'll see you in the comments or on text message or during our coaching sessions. Have a fantastic week, everyone.